Good morning. Happy Mother's Day. I hope all the moms are having a good morning. I know there are a lot of challenges that we are facing, but still I hope you will take a moment to take in the importance of this day, that you allow yourselves the time and to kind of enjoy this special day. Again, we are faced with so many challenges. We sometimes get overwhelmed by what we are faced with. And so once in a while, we do have to give ourselves the opportunity to kind of take some time to enjoy what we do have. We'll begin this morning's service with the reading of Sambujo, followed by Junirai. So if you will please join us in the reading of Junirai.
Namanda, 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 Namanda.
「 Good morning. Shall we place our hands together and recite the golden chain? I am a link in Amida's golden chain of love that stretches around the world. I will keep my link bright and strong. I will be kind and gentle to every living thing and protect all who are weaker than myself. I will think pure and beautiful thoughts, say pure and beautiful words, and do pure and beautiful deeds. May every link in Amida's golden chain of love be bright and strong, and may we all attain perfect peace. Namo Amidabus. Namo Amidabus. Namo Amidabus. Good morning, Dharma School students, parents, teachers, and friends. Today is a special day, as Rinban said earlier. Happy Mother's Day to all of you mothers. Dharma School students, what did you do to celebrate this special day? Did you cook a special breakfast for your mother this morning? Maybe you gave her a bunch of beautiful, colorful flowers, or maybe her favorite box of chocolates. Whatever, let us be grateful for our mother. Please join me in Gassho. Thank you to all the mothers. We are grateful for your nurturing, for your loving kindness, for your lifelong commitment. Without you, all of us would not be here. Namo Amidabus. Namo Amidabus. Namo Amidabus. A mother named Fumiko Emily Nakamura was born in Florin, California. She married Takekuma Norman Takei, and they had a son named George, named after King George VI of England. George was born in April 1937. It happens to be the same year that I was also born. Why am I telling you about George? George wrote a book, actually more than one book. He wrote the book called They Call Us Enemy with two other people. It is one of two books that the Betsuin Book Club is reading for this month. His story is told in graphic form. Until I joined the Betsuin Book Club, I never read a story in graphic form. It's like a comic book. Most of you were not born. Many of your parents probably were not born. But your grandparents certainly would remember George Takei. He gained fame as Mr. Sulu in the first Star Trek movie and television series. I first met George Takei when he was a student at UC Berkeley many, many years ago. We were at a YBA conference here that was held in San Jose in the Montgomery Theater, and there was an oratorical contest, which was one of the highlights of the WYBL conference. I was a delegate from Central Cal, and I was standing in the back of the room. There were a lot of other speakers, and finally, it was George Takei's turn. When George came to the microphone and started speaking, the whole theater became very quiet. George spoke about the Buddhist principle of impermanence and how everything changes. he told about the life of a leaf. It starts out as a little bud on a branch of a tree, and as the season changes, so does a leaf. When fall comes, the leaf changes its color and becomes more dry and brittle. Finally, it falls to the ground and disappears. But the leaf disintegrates into the soil and becomes one with the soil. It becomes part of the soil. George said that a leaf does not cling on and say, oh no, it's not my turn, I don't want to fall down and die. But it simply falls when the time comes. This is a natural order of anything living. Something lives, something dies. Life and death are natural. Of course, I was completely fascinated with his speech, but it was his delivery and his voice, and I knew that he would win the contest, and sure enough he did. Later on, I had a chance to chat with him, and I said, what do you want to be when you grow up? And he said, I want to be in the films. And I thought, what? He cannot be serious. I mean, he's not even good looking. He had poor skin. He had funny looking eyes that were kind of penetrating. And the years went by. I moved to San Jose, got married, had children. And one night, my husband and I were watching television, and I don't know why, but it was a B-grade movie. And there in that movie was George Takei. I told my husband, look, that's George Takei. And he said, oh no, I don't think so. So we waited for the credits at the end, and there was his name, George Takei. Finally, after some years passed, George Takei was offered the role of Sulu in the Star Trek movie, and he soon received fame. When the National JCL had George as one of the speakers, I stood in a long line afterwards to meet him and to shake his hand. I gave him a newspaper clipping which had yellowed in age, and it was George's speech at that Montgomery Theater long ago in San Jose. When he looked at the newspaper clipping, he could not believe that I had saved that speech all those many years. I gave that speech to him. The next time I saw George was when the Gomonshu came to San Jose, and our Betsuin board decided to honor him by renting the Tech Museum for one night. And George Takei came because he had written his book, and he was going to sign his book. And so there we were in this Tech Museum with the Gomonshu sitting on one side of the room and George Takei sitting on the other side. Well, it was embarrassing to see, but George Takei had about 30 people in line with his book wanting to get it autographed. On the other side was poor Gomonshu with about 3 or 4 people. Now, we were told before that there were protocols to follow and that we should not shake his hand or be very personal, just to greet him. But when I looked over there, I saw one of our members shaking his hand very, very, very handily, and I thought, well, if she can do that, I can do that. So I went there and I shook the Gomonshu's hand. This Gomonshu is the father of the current Gomonshu. I saw George Takei several more times. When Bisei launched its first campaign years ago, George Takei made a video. The video was shown to solicit funds for the campaign. Of course, that magnificent voice of him in that video and his famous voice kind of sold that video to a lot of people. We took that video around to show to potential donors, and it was a good success. George later on did a musical called Alliance, and it was about the internment camp. He continues to be a leader to fight for social justice, LGBTQ and marriage rights, as well as other worthwhile causes. Please join me in Gassho. Namo Amidabus. Namo Amidabus. Namo Amidabus. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you, Sumi. It's wonderful to be reminded of George Takei's career. As you may remember, that's not the force be with you, it's the other one. but yeah, having him participate in our events here has been really special to have him come. And remembering George Takei and his involvement with the BCA and with Betsuin, we are certainly grateful for all the work that he's done through the years. And his LGBTQ work, that also, of course, has been very important to him as well as our community. Thank you very much, everyone, for participating in this morning or joining us for this morning's service. Next week is Gotanye, our Gotanye service. Our speaker will be Rinban Bill Briones of the Los Angeles Betsuin. He'll send a recording and share with us his appreciation of Shinan Shoni at our Gotanye service. Infant presentation will begin at 8:30. Hopefully you've sent your registration in or information in. Again, this year everything will be done virtually. Unfortunately, with what's happening with COVID in our area, there's a growing concern again that we need to be careful about our contact in our community. So we're going to have the infant presentation and Gotanye service will be in virtual again this year. Okay, thank you very much. We'll close with Gatha.
I'm a link in the golden chain, harmony may we all attain, gentle to all living things, will unite us all as golden rings. I'm a link in the golden chain, gratitude may we all attain. Bright and strong my link will grow, through pure and loving deeds I know. Pure and beautiful thoughts I will think, and pure and beautiful words I will say, and pure and beautiful deeds I will do for the world and for you. Spreading kindness and love every day to all living things that come our way. Amigos, chain of love is bright. Through peace and love we will see the light.
Thank you very much. much, everyone, for joining us this morning. And again, happy Mother's Day. Please take care, and we'll see you next time. As we close, will you please join in Gassho and Nembutsu? Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namanda. See you all next time. Bye-bye. Good morning. Welcome to this morning service. Happy Mother's Day. I hope you're enjoying leisurely morning on this very beautiful Mother's Day. If we'll begin this morning service with Sambujo, followed by Sanbutsuge. So if you please join us in the reading of Sanbutsuge. If you please join now in the reading of the three treasures on page 8. Hard is it to be born into human life, and now we are living it. Difficult is it to hear the teachings of the Blessed One, now we hear it. If we do not realize the truth in this life, when will it be realized? Let us reverently take refuge in the three treasures of the truth. I take refuge in the Buddha. May we absorb ourselves in the principle of the way to enlightenment and awaken in ourselves the supreme will. I take refuge in the Dharma. May we be submerged in the depths of the doctrine and gain wisdom as deep as the ocean. I take refuge in the Sangha. May we live in harmony in the great assembly as disciples of Buddha and be freed from all hindrances, becoming units of true accord in a life of harmony, in a spirit of universal oneness, freed from the bondage of selfishness. Even through myriad ages of kalpas, hard is it to hear such an excellent, profound, and wonderful doctrine. Now we are able to hear and receive it. Let us thoroughly understand the true meaning of Tathagata's teaching. Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu. Once again, good morning. Welcome to this morning's service, and happy Mother's Day to everyone. No matter who we are, each of us has a mother. Whatever the relationship is or has been with our mother, the fact that we are here, able to listen or be a part and participate in the service, says that you've had a mother. Again, it doesn't matter what that relationship may have been like or has been like or is like. The fact that you are here says that you have had a mother. And that relationship between you and your mother, we have to kind of think about that once in a while. Again, whatever that relationship might be. It might be one that's pleasant, it might be one that's very difficult, it might be one that is going through transition right now. It may be one that is causing great difficulties for you, or perhaps great joys. But as we consider, what that relationship with our mother is, it influences how we experience the world. When we think about the experiences that we have shared or continue to share with our mothers, we may feel as though there's something more that we need to do, not just for our mother, but for maybe in the world, that maybe we should be being engaged more in the world. When we observe this Mother's Day, our society and the people who observe Mother's Day, are all celebrating this wonderful occasion of Mother's Day. But for some of us, it may be it may not be possible. Maybe it's a relationship that's not very good right now. You may be not talking with your mother. You may be angry with your mother. Just this morning, you might be upset with your mother, so you're not talking with her. Your mother is probably wondering, what is going on? Why is that happening now? Why do we have to have this kind of a relationship? And so your mother is trying to kind of figure out what might be happening. But you may not be aware of that. You might be only thinking about what you're unhappy about, why I can't have things going the way I want. And so we might be angry about that. And Buddhism suggests that relationship, the difficulties of that relationship is really maybe the way I'm thinking about it, the way I'm seeing it. The way I'm experiencing that relationship. not to get, overly complicated about this, but then, Buddhism, that's what Buddhism is saying, right? It's saying we have to look at that relationship to really understand how we move through the world. I remember I wrote, there was a visiting professor in Hawaii, and I had a chance to have a kind of a go on an adventure with him. I took him up into the forest of Hawaii, and it was near. They called this where this waterfall was, and there was a pool, and it was called a Jackass Ginger. It's not a real. There must have been an official name for that place, but you walk through the forest. There was a bamboo forest, and you walk through the forest, and you come out to this kind of open area, and there's a pool that's surrounded by growth, and this small waterfall that's falling into the pool, and it's a lovely, beautiful sight. And I had asked him. I thought, I wanted to talk to him about some things, and one of the things I wanted to talk about was my mother. And so I invited him. Well, let's go into this very beautiful place, and we'll go sit down and we can talk for a while. And we went up along this trail and into the forest, and a lot of bamboo, a lot of ginger, and we used to call this California grass, but I'm sure it's not from California, but that's what we used to call it, California grass. I don't know. Anyway, so as we walked into this forest and we sat to talk about what I wanted to talk with him about, there were mosquitoes, just tremendous amount of mosquitoes, and so we kept having to brush these mosquitoes away from us. And what I thought would be a kind of a nice, enjoyable conversation with him turned out into a mosquito battle with all of these bugs flying around. So we didn't talk very much about what I wanted to talk to him about. But it's what I wanted, right? I wanted somebody to understand what my feelings are, what I'm thinking about, what I'm experiencing, and it was to the point where I brought this poor sensei up into the mountains and to fight mosquitoes looking at this waterfall. So it's me, right, asserting what I think should take place, what I want to have happen. So whatever our relationship might be, maybe we have to kind of think about what we might be able to do from my side, right? From what I want to, how I might be able to adjust what I'm thinking about and how I'm seeing the world. And one of the things I wish I had done, was, I wish I had had remember more conversations that I had with my mom, or asked her more about family. I really know very little about my family beyond my parents, what my grandparents were like. I know when I was very young, my mother went to Kyoto to study, spend some time studying Ikenobo, at the Ikenobo school, a flower arrangement. And I was the youngest, so she brought me along with her, and we went to Hiroshima, where both of my parents' family is from. And we went to Hiroshima, and at that time, this was in the 50s, so still recovering from the war. And it was an old farmhouse. The only image that I really have is of this old farmhouse, and there were still chickens under the porch. And I was chasing chickens in the yard of this old family farmhouse. The other thing I remember was losing my hat on the bus. So I had a nice hat, and 5-year-old wearing a nice hat. I mean, well, I thought it was a nice hat. I don't know what other people thought what this hat looked like on me. But I was wearing this hat, and I left it in the bus, and it was gone. And so I must have been, I think, maybe 5 or 6 years old when I went with her as she studied. And I don't really remember, other than those images of chasing chickens in the yard that lived under, and they, the coop was under the porch, and that's one image that I have. The other image, or the thing that I remember, was losing my hat on the bus, or leaving my hat on the bus. But I know, other than that, I know very little about my mother's family, and I wish I had talked to her more about that. I think Kathy knows more about it, because she'll talk more and she'll ask more questions and find out things more than I will. And so I have to now ask Kathy what her memories are of her conversations with my mother. But I wish I had had more of those conversations. And as time goes by, there are fewer and fewer people in my family that I can have those conversations with, that will help me better understand my family. My father's side, I know even less about. I've met his family is Hiroshima as well. I think when a choir trip to Japan took place, this was maybe 15 years ago now. Stopped from Okayama, we went to Hiroshima, when the choir trip ended in Okayama, our family went on to Hiroshima from Okayama to visit some of my relatives. But by that time, there were just my cousins that were around, and I remember it was that the trip? I think it was that trip, but it was Obon time, and as we drove through through the streets outside of Hiroshima, there were cemeteries that we kind of were. These are old cemeteries, family cemeteries, and at these cemeteries were these kind of sticks. Well, not sticks, I should say. There were lanterns that were on the top of these poles that were at the gravesites, and I could see in some of the shops that these were being sold at the shops. I think it was a lantern. There was some decoration at the top of this post that were left at the. And so I asked my cousin, "What are those things that with these decoration and the post?" And I have to say that my Nihongo is marginal. My Japanese is kind of marginal. So at that time, I'm pretty sure what I understood. He said that there are these poles that have these decorations that people will buy and they'll bring to the haka and place it. And his thought was they do that so they can say, "I've been here," and so I did hakamairi. I've been here, and then go home. I think that was his idea of being. I don't know. But the idea of going to the Ohaka and doing hakamairi at Obon time. But I got to meet some of my cousins that I had no idea, and I wish and unable to communicate with them because of my lack of language skills. But my mother's side, her brothers, and her sister, I grew up with, and again, they're there. So I think, well, no, I'll get to it at some point. And by the time I left Hawaii, I still hadn't gotten to the point of talking about what their experiences were of my mother's life, what growing up for her was like. In the area that of her home growing up was a place called Makali, not far from where I grew up. Well, nobody's any very far from anybody in a way, but it was just a couple, maybe 5 miles away from where I grew up. But when the bombing of Pearl Harbor took place, there were actually shrapnel or shells that fell in the area of her home, and it was fairly close by. But that too, I know very little details about that, but that's the kind of the story that I have in my head, and I'm thinking, I wish I had spent more time talking to my mom, but being a young kid with other things on my mind, never paid attention, never really kind of took the time to really talk about what was now for me important. And that time is now gone, not possible for me to go back and to talk about these things with my mother. It's been more than 20 years since she died. She died the summer of, this is an odd way of remembering this, but she died the summer of 9/11. 9/11 was, in September, and of course during that summer we had no idea that was coming, and that's when she died. Part of that she didn't have to experience the chaos of that time, but it's been over 20 years since she died. Not only the conversations, though, right? And by the time I figured out that these are things that I would like to do, so much time had passed by already, and not only these conversations, but just to give her a hug. Sometimes I wish I had hugged her more. In Hawaii, people don't give hugs. They said at the time when I was growing up, they said, that's the mainland people. Mainland people give hugs. Auntie Betty used to give hugs all the time. She said, she's from the mainland. She studied in the mainland or something. Anyway, never gave hugs. And those kinds of emotions, right, we didn't really express very openly. Well, yeah, so talk with your mom. Give her a hug. She'll probably go, but it'll be okay. Yeah, so before, time passes, make use of the time that you have. Pay attention. Not just, do nice things. Doing nice things are nice. You should do nice things all the time, not just on Mother's Day. Do things regularly. And have conversations, find out. I think those conversations sometimes I'd like to have more of, but then once I get in a conversation, I think, oh man, this is going too long. But I think it has to go both ways, right? We have to be willing to listen as much as be willing to ask questions, but to have those conversations, find out, about what happened in the past. Nowadays, journaling is kind of a thing that we're doing more of, but writing down things, recording not only your thoughts, but also what you hear and what you think about, and the thoughts of others, to record them so that you have in the future. I always try to start a journal, write down what I've been doing, but I'm thinking, as I'm writing this down, I'm thinking, it's too much trouble. So I'll start maybe a couple pages, and then, with the best of intentions, a couple pages, and then go on to the next thing. So different ways of not only communicating the importance of the relationships that we share, but recording for ourselves our way of remembering. But most of all, while people are there in front of us, the people that we are important to us, sometimes we feel too busy in our days to take time. But this time is the only time you have. There's no more afterwards. Nobody's going to be adding on more time as you go, as your time runs out, whenever that time may be. But take time. And even now, although I cannot go back to when my mother was alive and have these conversations that I would like to have with her, I can still be engaged with those who are around me. I can still be do the things that I wish I had done when my mother was alive, and do that with the people who are here now. We may not be as open to doing that as we might want to be, and I think that's probably that was probably a problem that I had growing up. That I don't have time to talk with my mom. I wish I was doing something else. All kinds of monku and excuses. But use the time that you have now. It may not be comfortable. It may not be the best timing. You may want to be doing other things, but as we. How come I thought I put this on? Silent. So my phone now. I used to, whenever we used to get a call into the temple office for an emergency, the temple system would call my phone. And so my phone, I would pick it up and retrieve the message that was left on our answering machine here at the temple. But we changed over to a new system, and only recently we've been able to get that to work so that it would send me a text message. But because it's a text message, I have to leave my phone on silent mode off. But I forget to put my silent mode on again, and so it's ringing. But it's not an emergency, because all of my messages, whether it's line or whether it's a text message or something from Uniqlo that comes in, it's going to buzz. So I got to figure this out again. I readjust my phone. So in any case, the time that we have, spend time looking out after the people who are important to us. Today is Mother's Day, and on Mother's Day we go out and we do things and we doing things together. But tomorrow, they're still going to be here, and maybe not. But we hope that they'll still be here, and there'll be another opportunity to do something special, do something nice, spend time, changing the way that we behave so that the relationships that surround us now, that we can deepen our understanding and our appreciation for those relationships, and how those relationships support our lives, nurture our lives, bring meaning, significance into our lives. But the first step is to do, things like have a conversation. sometimes those conversations can turn into arguments unexpectedly, but that's our conversation, right? That's the way that we communicate with one another. But to communicate, to share, to express, to be engaged. It doesn't have to be with the world. It can be with the person right in front of you. And that person, if you are able to have your mother with you, will be an opportunity to learn about yourself through the eyes and experiences of another person who is deeply connected to who you are. This Mother's Day, like every year, every Mother's Day, we are grateful. And again, regardless of what that relationship might be or might have been like or may have been, whatever that relationship, maybe it's strained and you cannot stand your mother anymore, the fact that you are able to hear this or to participate in this service, that fact simply says that you have had a mother, and your life is the result of your mother. Without a mother, you would not be here, able to participate as you do. If we are mindful of that, perhaps we might be able to think about differently that relationship that we share with our parents. Again, our biological mother might be somewhere else. Perhaps we were raised by an adoptive parent or by a relative. It's not unusual. Even here, I know growing up, often children were entrusted to relatives. It happened here too, when families could not support everyone. They would ask others to care for their children. Human relationships are very complex, but I go back and I think how much I wish there are things that I had done with my mother, and I wish that the time that we have now that to pay attention, to focus, to listen, to be engaged with the lives that are around us, that support and provide us with what we need in order to live our lives. So gratitude and appreciation. Without our mother, we would not exist. At least for that much, we are truly grateful. Thank you very much for joining us for this morning's service, for this Mother's Day service, and I hope you have a wonderful day. At this time, we'll conclude with Gatha.
Pure and beautiful. will see the light.
Thank you, everyone. As we close, will you please join in Gassho? Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Thank you, everyone. See you next time. Please remember, today is at 11 o'clock. We'll have a Japanese language message from Mikame Sensei. So please, if you are able to, or if you know anyone who would enjoy this Mother's Day service in Nihongo, please plan to join us at 11 o'clock. Thank you very much, everybody. See you next time.
はようございます。本日もサンノゼ別院の日本語講座にお参りくださいましてありがとうございます。私はこちらに勤めさせていただいております三亀と申します。よろしくお願いいたします。5月になりましたね。日本ではゴールデンウィークといって今年は最大多い方で10連休10日連続でお休みになるぐらいね、長いお休み明けで日本だったら月曜日ね、今日のアメリカだったら日曜日という感じだと思うんですけれども、そして今日は母の日であります。私は日本に家族がいるんですけれども、ゴールデンウィーク何かしたって言ったらね、こんな楽しいことしたよって言って、やっぱ家族の中心をね、私の甥っ子がいるんですけど、その子供中心っていうところがあって、子供のためにこんな風な楽しいことをしてあげようっていうふうにね、みんながなんか楽しく集うような、そういうお休みをねお過ごしの方が多いと思います。でもね、なんか不思議やなと思うんですけれども、このゴールデンウィークね、子どもの日であって、そして母の日であって、また次のね、月に父の日ってありますけれども、いつも子どものことばっかり何ですか、子どもが子どものためにっていうふうにね思って育ててくれている、そういう方々に支えられとるんだなというふうに思います。私もねたまに母や父に連絡する時も、いつまでたっても子供でして、自分のことばっかり話をしてね、元気かどうかも聞くことさえもね忘れてしまうような私なんですけれども、でもそれであっても見捨てないで、子供のために、あなたのためにっていうふうにね心配してくれるのが親であると思います。そういうふうに気づいたらですね、やっぱり私がここにあるっていうのは母があって父があってっていうところだと思います。だからね、自分ばっかりの子供中心、自分中心ではなくて、今度はお母さんお父さんありがとうって周りのねそういうありがたみに気づいていける、そういう大人になっていきたいなっていうふうに、思います。Okay. それでは、本日のサービスなんですけれども、じゅうせいげ、三部城というお勤めの後にじゅうせいげ、その後に、今回はね忘れないようにいたします、三喜右衛門の拝読があって、仏様のお話、ご法話をさせていただきます。ナマンダーツナマンダーツナマンダーツナマンダーツナマンダーツナマンダーツナマンダーツナマンダーツナマンダーツナマンダーツナマンダーツナマンダーツナマンダーツナマンダーツナマンダーツナマンダーツナマンダーツナマンダーツナマンダーツナマンダーツナマンダーツナマンダーツナマンダーツナマンダーツナマンダーツナマンダーツナマンダーツナマンダーツナマンダーツナマンダーツナマンダーツナマンダーツナマンダーツナマンダーツナマンダーツナマンダーツナマンダーツナマンダーツナマンダーツナマンダーツナマンダーツナマンダーツナマンダーツナマンダーツナマンダーツナマンダーツナマンダーツナマンダーツナマンダーツナマンダーツナマンダーツナマンダーツナマンダーツナマンダーツナマンダーツナマンダーツナマンダーツナマンダーツナマンダーツナマンダーツナマンダーツナマンダーツナマンダーツナマンダーツナマンダーツナマンダーツナマンダーツナマンダーツナマンダーツナマンダー ありがとうございます。ちょっとマスク取ったんですけど、跡がついてたらすみません。はい、それでは3期エモをね、拝読をさせていただきます。合唱お願いいたします。合唱。人参受けがたし、今すでに行く。仏法聞きがたし、今すでに聞く。好み根性に向かってどせずんば。さらにいずれの章に向かってか、好みをどせん。大種もろともに、自身に参謀に帰し立てまつるべし。自ら仏に帰し立てまつる。まさに願わくは主情とともに大道を大下して無常意を起こさん。自ら法に帰し立てまつる。まさに願わくは主情とともに深く胸像に入りて知恵海のごとくならん。自ら僧に帰し立てまつる。まさに願わくは主情とともに大種を通りして一切無下ならん。無常人人未明の方は百千万号にも相合うことかたし。我今検問し授事することを得たり。願わくは如来の真実義を下し立てまつらん。ナマンダーウツナンマンダーウツナマンダーウツナマンダーウツナマンダーウツナマンダーウツ。はい、ありがとうございます。少しねお話をさせていただこうと思うんですけれども、あっという間に5月になりました。花盛りの春4月から変わりまして、爽やかな風が新緑の中をねなびいていくような、そんな爽やかな5月がやってまいりました。三之瀬別院には日本庭園っていうのがねありまして、すぐこの本堂の隣にね小さな日本庭園があるんですけれども、すごくね美しく手入れされています。でそこでねいろんなお花とか木々がね植えられているわけなんですけれども、ちょうど今お花も咲いているんですけれども、緑がね青々として本当に新緑を味わえることができて素敵な場所であります。以前はこの日本庭園というのを専門に専門で整えてくださる庭師さんという方がいらっしゃったそうなんですけれども、今ねとなってはその数が減ってしまって、なかなかその専門の庭師さんをね探して、トリミングするっていうんですかねっていうのがちょっと難しくなってきているというふうにね聞いたことがあります。そんな中であっても、ありがたいことに三之瀬別院のこの日本庭園はいつ庭を見ても 美しく整えられているんですね。それは私たちのこのお寺に、庭師さんがいてくださるからではありません。それは毎週ね、ボランティアでお掃除とかお手伝いをして、こうケアしてくださるそういう方がねいてくださる、そういうおかげで、こうしていつもきれいな日本庭園をね眺めることができ、いろんなこう、ね、道通る方の目に留まっては本当に写真を撮ってね行かれるぐらい美しい姿を、があるのが、このサノゼ別院の日本庭園であります。このパンデミックがね始まる前までは毎週水曜日になりましたらねこうお寺に集まってこう庭のお掃除とか、いろんなねこうお寺の事務の作業のお手伝いとかね簡単なお仕事をボランティアでしてくださる方が、パワフルなメンバーの方がね毎週水曜日になったら来てくださっていました。パワフルな方といっても私よりだいぶ年の大先輩の方であります。平均年齢は80歳ぐらいというふうにねお伝えして、もう大丈夫だと思いますけども、でも本当にパワフルで、どんなことでもこうねお寺のためにっていうふうに、本当に献身的にお手伝いしてくださる方々です。午前中にお手伝いをしたらお昼はみんなでこう一つのお部屋に集まってこう賑やかに一緒に昼食をいただくっていうのがねずっとこうパンデミックの前はルーティーンだったんですけれども、残念なことにこのパンデミックが始まってからはねどこもそうだと思うんですけれども、お寺にこうして以前のように集まるっていうことがねできなくなってしまいました。で今このサノゼのお寺もですねまだオープンはフルにオープンはしていないので、以前のようにこう集まってこうボランティアをしていただいたりとかお食事は一緒にとることができないっていう状態にあるわけです。でもそんなねパンデミックの前のように集まることができなかったからといってこのお庭が本当草ぼうぼうで廃れたということは一度もありませんでした。このお寺の日本庭園だけじゃなくってこの周りの花壇とかね本当にいろんな壊れてたものをね直してもらったり一気に本当に前よりもリニューアルされて美しい形に整えてくださったのがそのボランティアの方々です。集まることに規制があった時はですねやはり皆さんで集まることができないのでこう花の水やりとか草取りをして自分のできることをねしてくださいました。そして規制がもう少しちょっと緩まったところから殺風景だったお寺の周りの歩道に石を敷き詰めてねもっと素敵に日本庭園風なね庭にしてくださったり、夜道を歩く方がちゃんと歩けるようにライトをね、つけて夜も見やすくしてくださったり、立ち寄った方が座っていけるようにベンチを手作りで作ってくださったりね、本当にそのボランティアの方全部メンバーの方がパンデミック中であっても集まることに制限があったとしても少しずつ集まって積み重ねてやってくださったのが今こうしてあるわけなんですね。私はいつも自分の家から歩いてお寺に向かうんですけれども、朝見かけるたびに姿をねメンバーの方が働いていらっしゃる姿を見るたびにいつも何かしらね作っていらっしゃったり直していらっしゃったりね、もう本当に大工事をいつもしてくださっているわけなんですけれども、本当にいつもありがとうっていうふうにしかね本当に、申し上げられないくらいねやってくださっています。そのような日々が続いていく中でですねあるそのメンバーの方でねそのボランティアに来てくださった一人の男性をねしばらく見かけなくなったわけなんです。 いつも仲間のね方と一緒にメンバーの方と一緒に、庭いじったりいろんなものを直してくださったりお寺のためにねお手伝いしてくださった方でいない日はないぐらいの方でした。だからねどうしたんだろうなどうされてるんだろうなっていうふうにね心配していたわけなんです。そしたらしばらくして経った後に前よりも二回りも三回りもこう痩せた姿でまた戻ってきてくださったわけなんですね。後からお話を聞いたらがんが体に見つかったということでその間こうねお手伝いボランティアのお手伝いを休んで治療に専念をされていたんだそうです。そのような大変な中であってもねお寺に来て自分のできることをしたいと思ってお手伝いをねまたしに帰ってきてくださったことだったんですね。その姿に本当にありがたいなと思いました。中でもそのお寺の今正面に植木がね植わってるんですけれどもその方が先陣を切ってやってくださったわけなんですが大切な思い出がございます。もともとねそのお寺の目の前には、ちょっとよくわからない低い木が生えていました。何の木なのかわからないんですけれども、生い茂っていたわけなんですね。でもこうある日の朝ですねいつものようにお寺に来たらそのボランティアのメンバーの方たちが一生懸命引っこ抜いて、全部ね引っこ抜いておられるのを見たわけなんです。私がこうもったいない引っこ抜いちゃうんですかっていうふうに聞いたところですねそのメンバーの方の一人がそうね新しくこれから何か花の咲く木を植えたいんだっていうふうにおっしゃった。もしあれだったら先生が好きな花はあるかい木はあるかいっていうふうに聞いてくださったんです。私はそんなに草木に詳しい方じゃなかったんですけれどもパッと思いついたのがツツジっていうお花でした。ですからツツジはどうですかっていうふうに言いました。なんでツツジを言ったかというと私は日本の島根県のね大田市っていうところ生まれなんですけれどもその島根県の大田市は、ツツジというお花がですね市のお花でして、春になるとこう白やピンクも真っピンクの本当に鮮やかな綺麗なね花を咲かせてくれる木なんですね。でまた私が生まれ育った小さなお寺なんですけれども住職をね昔していた祖父が大好きだったツツジだったわけなんですね。ですから今でも島根のお寺にはツツジが植わってるわけなんですね。ですからツツジはどうだろうかっていうふうにその方にお伝えしました。アメリカにもツツジがあるのかなっていうふうに思ったんですがそのメンバーの方はもう一つ返事で OK じゃあそうしようツツジを植えようっていうふうに言ってくださいました。そしてしばらくすると言った通りそのあとお庭にはきれいなツツジが植えられて今年もねおかげさまできれいなお花がね咲きました。そのメンバーの方はまたしばらくして治療に戻られてここ最近はなかなかお寺にね来られなくなっておられました。またどうされているのかなっていうふうに思いましたけれどもこのお寺の様子が、ね、気がかりなのか治療の間もその方の息子さんとそのお連れ合いさんをですねお寺に、よこしてくださって何度も草取りをしてくださった姿をね拝見しました。その方の周りにはいつも仲間がいてくださって、お寺のために誰かのために困っている方のために何かしようっていうふうにね、真っ先に動いてくださるようなそんな優しさにあふれる方でありました。でも残念なことにその方はですねほんの数日前にお亡くなりになったというふうに連絡を受けました。ご闘病の末ご自宅で息を引き取られた というふうにお聞きいたしました。その知らせを聞いてなんだかちょっと信じられない気持ちとともにやっぱり寂しい、そしてあの時こんなふうに声をもっとかけておけばなっていうふうにね、すごく申し訳ない気持ちもねありました。きっと身近な方をね、私たちが身近な方を失う時っていうのは寂しさとともに、いろんな後悔の気持ちとか、喪失感でなんか気持ちがいっぱいになったり、逆になんだか失って空っぽだなっていうふうになる時もあるんじゃないかなというふうに思います。でもよく大事な方を亡くされた後に聞かれることなんですけれども、私は大事な、お連れ合いさんを亡くした方は大事な彼を亡くしていつも泣いてばっかりなんです、いいんでしょうかっていうふうにおっしゃるんですけどもね、その思い出すと涙を流したり振り返って楽しい思い出を思い出して笑顔になったり、いろいろ思い返す中で流れてくる温かい時間だったり思い出っていうのは本当に大事にしてくださいっていうふうにねお伝えしています。喪失感で苦しんでいらっしゃる方はやっぱりそれほど大切な方、私たちの人生にとって本当に大きな方を亡くされたというね心の反応がであるからおかしいことではないんですね。よく亡くなったら何人も亡くなる、無になっていくんだっていうふうに聞かせて言う方もねいらっしゃるんですけどもね、私はとてもそんなふうにはね思えないんです。大事な方を思って涙を流したり、逆に笑顔になったりね、思い出して、笑顔になったり、っていうのはなんか姿はまた生きている時とは違うけれども、また違った関わり方で私を今でも導いてくれている存在、として、共にあってくれるんじゃないかなっていうふうにいただいています。私たちはそれを仏様として大切に仰いでいくことができます。仏様っていうのはいつでもどこでも時間も場所もあらゆる制限を超えて今この私にどうか仏として生まれていく道を歩んでくださいねっていうふうにね願って導いてくださっているお方です。お坊さんで金子大栄さんっていう方がこのような言葉を残してくださっています。花びらは散っても花は散らない、形は滅びても人は死なぬという言葉です。例えば桜の花びら美しく花が咲き誇った、その後花びらの命は終わったとしても、花びらは枯れてまたこの次の木を生かしていく肥料になって木の一部となってまた来年咲く活力、命となって続いていきます。ですからね、花の命というのはどんどん続いていくわけなんです。同じように私の命も滅びゆくものとして、滅びゆくものだとしても誰かのために、残された言葉でしたり見せてくれた姿だったり伝えてくれたいろんな大切なこと、それらは残された方の心だったり命に残り続けて、そしてそれからも育んでくれるそういうものではないかなというふうにいただいています。私たちはやがて命を終えていかないといけないお互いであります。何にも無になっていくんじゃないか、真っ暗闇に落ちていくんじゃないかっていう自分のそんな幻想や妄想でね心配したり踊らされているうちはなかなかこの死を引き受けていくことはできないものだと思います。でもそうやって嘆き悲しんで命を終えていかないといけなかった私をどんなことがあっても見捨てることはない、どうにかして仏として命輝く世界に生まれてほしいというふうに いつまでも案じてくださっているのが阿弥陀様でありますよというふうに浄土真宗の開祖の親鸞様が教えてくださいました。どのような命を生き方をしていようと、この命がどのように終わっていこうとも、間違いなく私たちはお浄土という素晴らしい光り輝く世界に仏様として生まれさせていくよ、抱いて離さない、その仏様が今私と共にあるんですよというふうに教えてくださっているのが親鸞様であります。その願い通り、先に仏様として生まれていかれたのが私たちの大切な方です。私たちは聞きたくないことには背を向けて、死には背を向けて来ている私だと思います。でもそうではなくて、再び同じ光り輝く浄土の世界でお会いできるお互いであるから、願いを聞き受けてうなずいて今を生きてくださいねと願ってくださっているのが大切な泣き方であります。仏様の国に生まれたら忙しいそうです。そこに生まれたきり帰ってこないわけじゃなくて、すぐに私たちの世界に戻ってきて、残された私たちが迷わないように、逆に一りぼっちにしないように導いてくださっている、そんな仏様となってご一緒くださっているのが、先に命を得られた大切な方々です。今年のツツジはすでに散っていきました。でも来年のツツジもきっと美しく花咲くことだと思います。花びらが散った後も美しく青々とした葉が生えて、それは花から受け継いだ命を精一杯今生きている姿だと思います。花の命は続いていきます。亡くなられたそのメンバーの方、亡くなられたその次の日、そのお友達で一緒にボランティアされたお友達は休まずにお寺に来て、またお手伝いをしてくださっていました。その姿を見た時に、まるでちゃんと願いを引き継いで、引き継いだそんな姿だなというふうに見させていただきました。一緒に笑ったり抱き合ったりできないかもしれない。でも一緒に生きて見せてくれた姿、そして伝えてくれた大切な思いとか私たちはこの命の中でそれは残っています。一緒に生きてくれています。それは私たちの命を今ここで強く育み続けてくれるものなのだと、大事なこのメンバーの方の姿、そして残されたメンバーの方の姿から今この精一杯を燃えるツツジの精一杯生きるように燃えるツツジのこの青葉の姿に思い重ねたことでありました。私たちはこの泣き方の願いの中で生かされ続けていきます。そしてそれは色あせることなく仏様の働きとして今私たちと共にやってくださる、そういう働きであります。お浄土の世界でまた再び仏同士でお会いするときにはちゃんと精一杯生きましたよというふうにその方にご報告できるように、今ここを精一杯生かさせていただこうというふうに思っております。はい、ではありがとうございます。本日もお会いくださいましてありがとうございました。次回は6月12日、同じように6月の第2日曜日の11時からこの日本語法座の法座をですね放映させていただきます。もしよろしかったらまた皆さんご一緒にお参りしていただければと思います。はい、それでは合唱でこのご縁を締めさせていただこうと思います。皆様合唱お願いいたします。ナマンダウツナマンダウツナマンダウツナマンダウツナマンダウツ。ありがとうございました。